Well, we are coming into the home stretch of the 2024 presidential election race. With just over 60 days left until November 5th, Election Day, there's no days off for the Harris and Trump campaigns, and the political discourse is heating up. Here in Lexington, one man wants to bridge that political divide through a Wu-Tang Clan campaign sign that he has planted in his front yard. He says the 90s rap group will bring people together. Tonight, WKYT's Jeremy Toms and photojournalist Darnell Crenshaw have Adam Reel's way of bringing the ruckus diplomatically.
Shinaway Road's sidewalk is full of early morning walkers. As of now, 2 months before Election Day, no one is passing by any front yard campaign signs.
I think when we get a little closer to the election, it's still a bit early. You'll start to see them pop up everywhere.
But Adam Reel's sign is the first one to pop up. It's not political, or maybe it is, depending on your woo point.
Saw the sign somewhere, and I said, that's awesome. It's really funny, just from a Wu-Tang is Forever, great album. To kind of use the play on words and add it to the political discourse, I think is just, it hopefully will make people smile.
Wu-Tang Clan is one of Reel's favorite rap groups. The New York rappers were the soundtrack of his upbringing in the 90s. Now in 2024, in this quiet neighborhood, he's bringing the ruckus, a borrowed line from the rap group, through this sign.
I think the sign is just my way of adding some levity to the environment and a silent protest of our current political discourse.
Reel is a Navy veteran. He served in Afghanistan. He says right now America feels more tribal instead of a united nation.
It's us versus them, right? It's no longer like who's the best person to lead the country forward. I'm disappointed in our inability to listen to one another and to have polite disagreements or actually argue the points.
So he's hoping people who will pass his sign notice it and take a deep breath, and not take the upcoming election too seriously. Maybe the love of music can bring us closer together.
Because music lasts forever. Presidents don't.
A once underground hip-hop collective, now on ground level, bringing everyone together during this election cycle.
Wu-Tang is always for the people, you know? It's, I think as ODB said, Wu-Tang's for the children.
In Lexington, Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
We thank him for his service and for his sense of humor. Reel tells us he's not divulging his selection for the next president.